Anson Burlingame's Switch America's Diplomat, who went back as China's envoy. Picture the 1860s. China has just been battered by the Opium Wars, forced into treaty ports, and surrounded by foreign pressure. The Qing court wants breathing room. The United States wants access, trade, ports, and protection for its citizens abroad. And in the middle of it all stands one American, Anson Burlingame. Burlingame was not born a Chinaman. He was a Massachusetts politician, a sharp speaker, and a rising figure in American public life. During the Civil War era, President Abraham Lincoln's administration sent him to Beijing as the U.S. minister to the Qing Empire. His job, on paper, was simple: represent American interests in a China increasingly pressured by stronger powers. But Burlingame did something unusual. Instead of acting like an imperial enforcer, he leaned into cooperation. He argued that China's territorial integrity should be respected. He pushed for diplomacy that treated China less like a prize and more like a state that deserved stability. That approach made him stand out, especially compared to the harder-edged pressure coming from other foreign powers. By 1867, Burlingame's term as America's minister was ending. And that's when the story takes its turn. The Qing court decided it needed a new kind of message abroad. Not another demand, not another protest. A full diplomatic mission sent to the United States and the major European capitals to ask for fairer treatment and a more normal, equal standing in international relations. And the court chose Burlingame to lead it. Think about how strange that is. An American diplomat, commissioned by the Emperor of China, carrying Chinese credentials, speaking for a government he had just been negotiating with. To many people, it looked like a switch. To Burlingame, it was a chance to sell a big idea: that a stronger, more respectful relationship with China would benefit everyone. In 1868, Burlingame arrived in Washington. He already knew the system, he knew the people, and he knew how to frame a deal in American language: rights, reciprocity, dignity. Negotiations moved quickly with Secretary of State William H. Seward. On July 28, 1868, the United States and China signed what became known as the Burlingame-Seward Treaty. The treaty did a few key things. First, it put American respect for China's territorial integrity and non-interference into formal words. In an era when empires routinely managed weaker states, that mattered. Second, it promoted a more open relationship in migration and travel. It recognized the principle that people could change their home and move between countries, an idea that sounded modern, almost optimistic. Third, it framed the relationship around reciprocity. Each side's citizens would receive treatment comparable to the most favored nation in the other country. But here's the irony, maybe the sharpest twist of all. A treaty signed in a spirit of openness did not prevent the backlash that followed. In the American West, anti-Chinese hostility grew as Chinese laborers became targets of violence and political blame. And within a little more than a decade, Washington began reversing course, first allowing limits by treaty, and then shutting the door with exclusion laws. So Burlingame's moment was real and also fragile. After Washington, Burlingame continued to Europe, pressing the same argument: treat China fairly, respect its sovereignty, and stop treating treaties like weapons. He made speeches that drew attention to China's position in the world, and he tried to soften the reflex of domination. He never finished the full project. In 1870, while in St. Petersburg negotiating with Russia, Burlingame fell ill and died. And that leaves the final image. A man who started as America's voice in China and ended as China's voice in the West. His switch wasn't a betrayal in the spy movie sense. It was diplomacy as persuasion, one person betting that respect could compete with force. For a brief moment in 1868, that bet became a treaty. And even though later politics undercut it, the story still matters. Because it shows how, in the 1800s, China and the United States almost wrote a different kind of relationship before fear and power rewrote it again.